that's what neuroencoding is. I took all of those pieces. There is some NLP, there is some hypnotherapy, there are leadership, there's presentation. It's everything to get a person to go from point A to point B to being able to not just change their own life, but change other people's lives as well.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. Today we have an amazing episode for you. I am super pumped. And as on every episode, we dig into the 4 levels of influence. And this is going to be a juicy one with this gentleman, where we go into ultimately, how does this person see influence? Level 1, what have been the influences in their life? How do they take it and transfer that out into other people in a one-to-one context? How do they do it to groups? And then to really make lasting impact, how do they see the process of influence to create legendary influence? That's influence when you're not there, where you take your mission, your values, your ideas, your emotions into the hearts and minds of other people at scale to make lasting impact. And so this gentleman's name is Joseph McClendon III, and he is one of the most sought after ultimate performance specialists in the industry with a doctorate in neuropsychology and a coaching client list consisting of Academy Award winners, Olympic athletes, Fortune 100 CEOs, and even royalty. He has perfected the ability to create rapid personal change, moving people to take consistent action towards where they ultimately want to be in their lives. Joseph is not only formally trained with a PhD in neuropsychology, he also holds over a dozen certifications within neurosciences, taught at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, for years, and has delivered hundreds of workshops, coaching sessions, keynote addresses, seminars, training programs, and interventions, presenting live to over 5 million people around the globe. At its core, Joseph McClendon III is an expert in coaching people to overcome destructive behaviors and in the inner and outer obstacles in life. And now, for the first time ever, he's actually even licensing and certifying others to do the same using his proprietary methodology and programs. Going to definitely dig into that. So, Mr. McClendon, how are you, sir?
I could not be better, Eli. So good to see you, and thank you for having me on your program.
Yeah, likewise. So, a lot of people, I've seen you speak countless times at this point, and I think a lot of people here that are listening to this, of course, will have seen you on Tony's stage, but they don't know of like all that you're up to in your world, in your life. And so we kind of want to pull this all apart. And I want to start with you, just kind of for everybody here, like, what are you up to in the world now? You obviously have your own process to help people not just overcome their own destructive patterns, but you are teaching that to other people. So I kind of want to get a sense of what you're up to in the world, in business and life. Like, what is your day-to-day like, and what are you doing for I guess your mission right now?
That's a big question, but I will say I'll start with the term that you use, legacy, because that is where I am in my life right now. And I'm so excited and so enthused about not what I have done, quite honestly, but what our students and the people that are helping me with this legacy do. And what I mean by that is that, you have as you talk about the four different levels of influence, and that last level is impacting, in my case, I say the world, because I've had the privilege, as you said before, of speaking to close to 5 million people around the world now, maybe more, especially because now we do everything digital and there's so many more people. But I know I can't do it by myself. I made the promise to my mentors years and years ago, my very first mentor, that I was going to carry it on and to take it to that level. And I realized that I can't do it alone. So I want to teach everybody, as many people that want to, the skill of being able to influence, impact, and change people's lives. So my NeuroEncoding Institute is the thing that I'm most proud of right now. And as I said, I'm most proud of our students and the people that are taking this on and making a difference out there in the world and changing people's lives.
NeuroEncoding, what is that?
Encoding is just a fancy word for programming. And we all have a nervous system. Our nervous system is what runs us. People think it's just our brain. No, it's our brain is connected to our nervous system, which sends signals to our heart, to our bodies, to our muscles, and all those things to do. And you know as well as I do, it is the do that makes the difference, not the idea and the want and the desire. It's what we do. And so if we can program ourselves, neuroencoding is, like I said, a fancy word for programming yourself to automatically, underline automatically, default to your best behavior. Procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, all of those things are the thieves of our dreams. And there's not a person on the planet that hasn't been affected by that. And so when that stuff happens, and it will, and it's going to, I always say that there's no fearless people, but there are people who fear less. And what that means is when something happens, whether it's unfortunate, whether it's bad or whatever, that would normally frustrate you or whatever, it doesn't mean that you don't get frustrated. Everybody can get mad and upset. It's just how long you stay frustrated. So all those things come under fear. And so fear, it's not it's the duration of the amount of time that you stay fear. In other words, there's no fearless people, but there are people who fear less time. So when something happens, if you have something that you program yourself to trigger yourself, to snap yourself out of it quicker and move to something of what I call being optimistic. And optimistic means having more options instead of being pessimistic and going into just fight or flight or your sympathetic nervous system, then you've got more options and you can move quicker and go further, faster.
I think so. Is this like NLP based, similar, a little bit different?
Well, that's a great question. It is, as you mentioned before, I have a formal education, and I have at least a dozen different certifications in NLP and hypnotherapy and you name it. And I still go and I learn more and everything. But what I realized is what makes me so effective, at the risk of sounding arrogant, and I've operated in the upper 3 to 5% of everybody in my industry for several years. But what makes me so effective is I don't use all of that stuff, Eli. I don't use everything. I mean, there's certain things that I use. So what I did with neuroencoding was cherry pick the things that work the most, that not only produce a change now, but also produce a change long lasting when I'm not there. And that's what neuroencoding is. I took all of those pieces. There is some NLP, there is some hypnotherapy, there are leadership, there's presentation. It's everything to get a person to go from point A to point B to being able to not just change their own life, but change other people's lives as well. And we have probably a third of our, I call them students, but they're teammates, if you will, are already professional psychologists and psychiatrists and coaches, and then people that are just getting started. So, we cater to all different levels.
A lot of people read books, go to programs, and even buy some of my courses, and they apply it and they do amazing. Some people they don't quite get it. There's something they're it's like this, they're not connected. Speaking of neural encoding, what is the difference for people that are kind of getting it? And this could be just any programs out there, books, seminars, all of that. There's people in the room that they just get it and they get great results, and ones who don't. And I know you've been to a bit more seminars than I, and I'm seminar junkie, and I go to it and the repetition. And so I'm curious because, we're going down this line of neural coding, and it's so great for the folks here. We talk about influence, and we ultimately want to influence the world, but so many people can't influence themselves despite, reading the books and all of that. What do you think's the critical factor for folks to create this change?
Well said. And that is one of the reasons why we created what we did, is because, I always say, physician, heal thyself first. I don't teach theory, and I teach people to not teach theory. I can't teach you to ride a bicycle if I don't know how to ride a bicycle myself. No. And so that's where we start. And there's 3 levels. Number 1, we teach the process. See, everything is a process. It's not, I don't believe in so much in God-given talent. I think, yeah, there are some things that we may be predisposed to make us better at something than somebody else might be. If you're 6'8", and you want to play basketball, you might be a better basketball player to start, or have a little bit more of an advantage to somebody who's 5'4". However, there's exceptions to the rule. What I believe in, Eli, is I believe that all skills can be learned. And the skill of doing, which is what you're saying here, it's not the matter of what you know, because you can go and learn stuff. I did it over and over again. You can go learn stuff left and right, but it's not knowledge that gets you anywhere. Knowledge is just stored information. My phone is full of knowledge, and people know what to do. They don't do what they know. I always jokingly say that people that want to lose weight, they don't not lose weight because not lose weight because they don't know how to lose weight. Just quit putting so much food in your pie hole and move your body, and you will lose weight. It ain't that complicated. But the challenge is the nervous system is what gets in the way. The nervous system is what makes the excuses. The nervous system is what turns a blind eye. The nervous system is what allows those cravings to overwhelm. So to answer your question, one of the many things that we do is when somebody becomes a licensed neuroencoding specialist, they have to do it. In other words, there are portions of it that are going to do it. So that's part one, is they got to do it for themselves, and they have to prove it. In other words, there's certain things. It's not just go to this course, you get this piece of paper. Which is the second thing. We have got an unbelievable support system of people to take you through live. And what that means is I'm going to teach you. There's some live things with me, as well as we have 24 different videos, which is about 24 hours worth of videos. This is no slouch course. So at the end of it, it's not just you have this piece of paper. We have everything that you have to do. You've got to pass the course. And I make it so simple. Some people do it, honestly, Eli, I think we've had people that do it in 2 weeks. Some people take 12 weeks. Some people take a little bit longer. But either way, the second thing is support. And what I mean by that is, and I'm certainly not going to throw anybody under the bus, because everybody's useful, and everything that I've learned has I benefited from and helped other people as well. And 90% of the time, if not 100% of the time, when it's done, it's just like, here's your certificate, here's your knowledge, good luck. And I'm on my own. Now, I was fortunate to have a dad that, instilled in us, to keep going, and tenacity and things like that. But honestly, there's some of those things I didn't do anything with as well. But part of the reason why is there was no support system. There was nobody that was there that I could talk to live. There was nobody there that was going to coach me once I had this, of what to do with my business, how I create clients, how I actually get over my own fear of selling or presenting or influencing people. How do I build this? How do I do that? So we have weekly calls, live people. My trainers are unfreaking believable. And they're there to answer you. Every week, there are 3 calls every week on these 3 areas. Number one, the process, which is the process of making a change in somebody. And I'll tell you what that means here in a second. Number 2 is the process of teaching the course, because I provide for people. If you want to be a coach, you want to be a mentor, you know what the biggest thing people are lacking? Content. People don't know what to talk about. How do I coach somebody? And it's not a matter of just writing down your goals. Let me check in on you. I provide for you 3 different courses. One of them is called Reboot Your Brain. And in that, it's a 12-week course. So when somebody becomes a coach, this is that we start with, and you can customize all 3 of them. And then the third piece is presentation. You mentioned influence. I call it presentational influence. And what that means is that, so what if you got all the knowledge? What if you know what to do with it and how to do it? If you can't present in a way to cause people to do these 2 things, number one, have an experience right now where they move the needle and they change right now, not later, but right now. And then your presentation is included in that is so that when you're not around, which is probably the most important part. When you're gone, when they leave the seminar, something inside them makes them get up early, stay up late, do that extra stuff to make it happen.
What is that something? What is that something that gets them?
Something is, it all comes together. In other words, at the risk of sounding arrogant, like you said, you've seen me live on stage a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I promise you, I promise everybody that when I walk on stage, it's not going to be just Joseph flapping his pie hole. It's not going to be just Joseph talking. You and I are going to be involved in something that is going to create a change inside of you right now, because it is the experience that goes on. To answer your question, I call it tell, show, try, do. And what that means is yeah, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to teach you something. And then I'm going to show you either through an example, right then and there, a story, or something. I may bring somebody on the stage and show you it working. And then thirdly, we're going to try it together. And you're going to get a result right now. And then I'm oversimplifying this, and then I'm going to give you something to do for at least 10 days when I'm gone. And when I'm gone, you're going to do those two things. And it is what I call human physics. Whatever you do, you're going to get better at. And the process of being able to stimulate your nervous system so that every time you do something, it logs into your nervous system that says, hey, I believe this, I can do this, I want to do this, I can do this, I will continue to do this.
Yeah. The compliance, getting these folks to do it sometimes, but if they're actively enrolled, they'll do it. I obviously I love all the stuff, and the events and everything. Something I evolved from, just from Date with Destiny, and Claire Graves came up with the spiral dynamics jam.
Sure.
It's interesting. Like in the 80s, when self-development started to really take off, people were geared towards like level 5 personal success.
Yeah.
But if the personal success isn't grounded to solid 4, which is like discipline and rules and structure, they lose the success. And then there's like a sense of like empowering yourself. And if you don't have personal power, people take it away. And then there's like level 2, which is like your tribe. And then level 1, which is like survival. And I noticed like certain people that had all the lower levels, they could hear success, they could apply success, they could visualize success. But some of them had some fluke success and they lost their discipline because they had the money and that's what they valued. Or some people didn't have their own sense of, personal, like a strong inner concept. And other people had like the lower forms, they had leakage in level 2, which maybe they had mommy daddy issues, or they had trauma. And so they never felt like, so they're out trying to get connection through drinking at bars or whatever. Some people had sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And so when that level 1 isn't there hormonally, they have so much stress in their nervous system, they don't feel safe. So they're not able to even process the learning. They're coming to success seminar, but they don't feel safe. And so it's interesting when you deal with people to see like what's landing and what's not. And what I'm understanding is, because you talk about this even in the introduction, that there's destructive behaviors that people go into. And a lot of that is there from, significant emotional events in the past. Part of this for the coaching, they're able to kind of rewire themselves, if you will, and feel safe, kind of build up in their own body so they can use these techniques. Is that what the
absolutely does? It's the honeybee. It's the honeybee going around collecting honey, doesn't know that it's pollinating the flowers. It's the wax on, wax off from Karate Kid. And here's what I mean by that is that I keep going back to this, and this is what's so critically important that I think is missing. And again, certainly not just to cast aspersions on anybody else's methodology or anything that's out there, is that what I notice is missing is that people try to make things a one size fits all, cookie cutter. If you do this, you get that. But everybody's different. And I had a private practice for many years while I was teaching at UCLA up in Los Angeles. And I helped people get over fears and phobias and emotional challenges. And how I came to my effectiveness what I do right now is through those years and years and thousands of clients. And what I realized was this, is that traditional, and I'm going to use the word therapy, but that's not what we do. In coaching, I shy away from that because that's not what I'm training people to do. Is traditional means, okay, you come in here and I'm going to listen to you, tell me what's wrong. And then we're going to talk about it. And then together we're going to figure out a solution. I work on the other end of that spectrum. I have something called further, faster. I always ask people, do you want what you want sooner rather than later? You got a fear of dogs. Do you want to take the next year to get over that, or you want to do it now? And before they come into me, they have that understanding that we're going to do this. And I'm leaving a whole bunch out, Eli, because there's always a conversation before and all those things. But I'll shorten it by saying, if you come into me and you've got a fear of dogs, take a guess what's going to be in my office.
Dog. Yeah.
It's going to be a dog. And at the end of that session, which is basically about an hour, you're going to be comfortable with that dog. You're going to hold the dog. You're going to be petting that dog. And then I'm going to give you something to do so that it geometrically grows outside of there. And that methodology that I use includes pattern interrupts, and it includes change personal history, and all of those things is individualized. And so again, going back on the neuroencoding process, it is, when you're learning it for yourself, you're also learning it from me on you. You get to choose which is going to work for you. There's places in there where you go, oh, that's me. Oh, yes, I do that. Honestly, from this side, it doesn't matter. You know, I have a level of certainty about what we do because of years and years of practice. But I don't believe that everybody has to go through those years and years of practice. And lastly, I'll say this. I believe that when people really want something, and they know there's something standing in the way, and they know that it's there, and their fear is, and matter of fact, they know that it's there, but they don't know why, and they're trying to figure out, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep eating cake? Why do I keep drinking alcohol? Why do I keep doing this? Well, education is part of it as well, because I know that as soon as they keep asking me that, I know the reason why is because they're asking that question. Why? Why is never the question to ask. And it's never, it's also not, how am I going to stop this? You see, why is an endless loop question. If a human being, our psyche is designed to answer questions, but our psyche is also designed to move away from pain. So if we ask a question, why am I so fat? Or why am I always broke? Or why do I always drink? Then the brain is going to give you an answer, and it's going to go, because you're weak, because, this happened to you as a child, because of all this stuff. And that doesn't feel good. So the brain is going to go, no, that can't be it. Why else? Why else? Or it's going to say, I don't know why. And the brain is going to go, well, I got to keep asking. So instead, we have to do what's called interrupt our own pattern. I'll just give this really, really quickly. I always say to people, have you ever been sitting in your house, and maybe you're watching an infomercial on television, and a telephone number comes across there that you need to write that telephone number down because you want to get that set of knives, or, whatever, the cooker or whatever it is. And you're sitting on the couch and you go, oh, the ink pen is in the kitchen. I got to get up and get an ink pen. And you stand up and you go into the kitchen, and you're standing in the kitchen and you're going, what the hell did I come in here for? Well, that is useful. And it's useful in this way, because it's called a pattern interrupt. And this is one of the fundamental things that people neglect. People try to change a pattern in somebody, whatever that pattern is, without doing anything about the existing pattern. And so the pattern interrupt opens it up, because here's the three things that happen. Number one, when you're sitting on the couch, you are in the focus of ink pen. You are in the physiology, meaning your body is held in that way, a certain physiology that says ink pen. And you're saying to yourself, ink pen. Well, as soon as you stand up, as soon as you move your body radically, or something happens, because that's called a pattern that you are in, a pattern of seeing, saying, and moving, if you will. And as soon as that pattern gets interrupted, the second thing that happens, or the first thing that happens, is you're no longer in that pattern. You're something else. The second thing that happens is you create something called a scotoma. The scotoma is a blank spot. And I liken it to a vacuum. And what does nature always want to do to a vacuum? Fill it up. Yeah. And so now you have a mental vacuum. That's why you're going, what? And the third thing that happens is you become highly suggestible in that moment. And so if somebody is going through something, if somebody is, and I do it on purpose, I want you to feel bad. When you're coming to me, I want you to see that dog so you can freak right the hell out, because now I got you. Because now I got that pattern that you're in that you want to get rid of. I interrupt that pattern. I got a blank spot, and I can put anything I want in there in that moment. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's part of neuroencoding. We have something called the stop technique that people can do it for themselves. And then that way you don't need Joseph, because I'm not around. Once you come to a seminar, or in our neuroencoding, obviously you have coaches and mentors, and I am there and that kind of thing. But you're out in the world on your own. You wake up in your own skin every morning, and so part of the reason why people do so well, why we have so much success, not only in people changing themselves, but now people are out there changing other people's lives. And I know you know this. This is now, Forbes magazine predicted, and it's been a year ago now, that this is to become a $1 billion a day industry. Personal development, personal help, and the things in that nature, $1 billion a day, and it's almost there. And so there's so many people that are out there that want that. And our level of success in this comes from we don't allow people to stay in their crappiness, and wallow in it. Yeah. We take people out of it and show them how to do it for themselves. For if you're doing like a one-on-one therapy or doing a sales call or an event, what are some things that you do to break patterns? It's kind of like confusion patterns, pattern interrupts, things to just make people more suggestible. Are there any specific tactics that come to mind? Well, there are. There are lots of them. And again, obviously too many for me to mention, but I'll give you a couple examples. Yeah. When you're talking to somebody, we have something, and by the way, all three of those things matter. Number one, here's what makes an effective whatever you do. Whatever you do, in this case, obviously, I'm talking about somebody that is a coach or a mentor or something like that. But if you're in sales, or if you're in anything where you have to influence somebody, these are the three pillars that you must have. Number one, content that solves the problems of the masses. Not just the niche, because niches are great. You can have you can be a yoga teacher, you can do whatever you want. But you must have, like I said, the ability to help somebody in that moment. Content that solves the problems. And like I said, everybody, whether you're selling a car, a house, whether you're influencing your child or somebody, everybody that you're talking to is dealing with those evils: procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, all of those things. Everybody is always dealing with those things on some level. The amount of time that they live in those things varies from person to person, and it's also stress related. In other words, some people come to a meeting knowing that you're going to sell them something. Some people go to buy a used car and they come predisposed to, I'm not going to let that guy take advantage of me, and I hate salespeople. And so if you don't do anything about that, then you're pushing a rock up a hill. Yeah. And so if you have content, in other words, if you know that person is dealing with that fear of being sold, or that person is dealing with the fear of rejection, or then your content is going to help them. The second thing is you must have the skill set to be able to produce a result by utilizing the processes of said content to produce a result right now. So to answer your question, when somebody is dealing with something in the moment, you must be able to, one of probably the simplest thing is asking a question. Like, for example, and by the way, there's a process that we call the influence model, which is, that's part of presentation. All three of these things have to work at once. You got to be able to present in a way that causes them to even want, knowingly or unknowingly, want to go along with what you suggest. And it's not just creating rapport and things like that. Yeah. But for example, if I'm coming to any kind of event, what is the first thing that most people do? It's like, hi, I'm Joseph. Great. How are you doing? Let me tell you about our product or whatever. Okay. But I don't do that. And again, it is the reason why you've seen me, Eli. I can get people to stand on their chairs and shake their ass and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And it ain't because I'm so cute or so funny. It's because of a system. And so the first thing I'm going to do is, identification. Who am I? What qualifies me? Next is logic and reason. Here's how things are and why they are that way. Next is attack and confess. You've seen me do it 1,000 times. I'm going to attack them. And there's a reason. There's
attacking their
logic.
specific beliefs.
I'm going to attack anything I possibly can. Yeah. Anything I can. Do that
through personal story, or here John did this and John believed this, and now John's in a bad place?
Not yet. No. The process is identification so that I can get rapport. Because nobody's going to, just like you just did here. You read my bio. Okay. Yeah. One of the hardest things for people to do is to talk about themselves. Mm-hmm. And this is a pattern that needs to be broken. If you're in any kind of influence, you've got to get over that. And I say you got to get over it, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And that is, you got to get up there and you got to go, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Joseph McClendon III. By profession, I'm a neuropsychologist. I help people get over fears and phobias and emotional challenges. But by trade, I'm what's known as an ultimate performance specialist. I help people go from point A to point B and go further, faster. I've had the privilege of working with movie stars and Academy Award winners. And I say all of that stuff. And the reason being, and I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version of this, Eli. Mm-hmm. But it's so because nobody can argue with me. People go, yeah, and you can watch in the audience, watch their heads going, okay, great, yeah, because it gives me a level of authority, and they can't argue with it. And as soon as they can't argue with it, and as soon as they agree, you have emotional connection, you have energetic connection. The second thing is, I'm going to tell them something they already know, and that they already believe. I'm going to say, you're on this call and you probably are maybe a little wary that I'm going to try and sell you something. And you want this product and you want to make this. You probably want the best thing about it. And I'll say anything that they already know is true for the exact same reason that they agree with me and they get rapport. And then I'm going to interrupt the pattern. Then I'm going to interrupt the pattern and I'm going to attack them.
Facing and leading and then interrupting the pattern.
Yeah, and then I'm going to interrupt the pattern. I'm going to attack them. I'm going to tell them, here's what you've done before. You procrastinate. You said you were going to do something. You wanted to do something. You talked yourself out of it. And then they know in that moment that I can, because remember, fear of rejection is the number one fear of human beings. And that's the best pattern interrupt that you can do in that kind of situation. And most people are afraid to do it. But when I do that and I say, because listen, I've gotten connection with them, connection, and then I break that connection. What do they want? They want the connection back. Mm-hmm. So when I break that connection and go, here's what you've done. Here's what you've done. And now they feel that emotional pain, and it's akin to the worst pain they can feel. Most people don't want to upset anybody, but as well as I do, an undisturbed client will not buy.
Yeah.
And again, I'm giving you the broad strokes of this, but then I get that rapport back. I confess. Then is when I tell a story and I go, you know what? I've done the same thing. I can tell you an example when I did this and this, because what happens in that moment is they go, oh, I got that rapport back, this guy that I liked before. But in the back of their mind, they know I got teeth. In the back of their mind, they know that I can cause them emotional pain. It's unconscious. Yeah. But they know that it's there. And then I give them the solution. I tell them what the solution is to get, a product that's going to do this, or get this, and this, and this, and so on and so forth. And then I'm always truthful and I'm always honest with them. So I'll tell them the attributes or whatever. And then I assume the sale. And then I go, so listen, let me tell you the different ways that you can invest in this. There's this, and this. Which one is best for you? Now, I did that very, very quickly, and I did that, the overview very, very quickly, but that's a strategy. It's a process, and there's 12 different ones that you can use. But being able to, like I said, influence somebody in a way that causes them to want to do it. Because, all that I just told right there, that was, one of the many things that you learn is that I moved all the stuff out of the way. I moved their psychology that was stopping them out of the way so that they could get a clear picture of what the truth is. Mm-hmm. And, I'm really big on integrity. In other words, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I'm not going to manipulate anybody. And when you come into me, I say this to people. I can't tell you what you're thinking. I can't read minds, but I can tell you how you're thinking it. I can tell you whether you're visual, whether you're auditory, whether you're kinesthetic. And if I know that, then I can align with you and help you figure out what you want. You see, what I have is not for everybody. I know that. But if it is for you and you decide it is for you, then I'm going to help you across the threshold.
Yeah. Yeah. How much of this is in the pre-frame? So, a big part of, say, if Oprah knocked on my door and tried to sell me something, I'd buy it from her because I have an association to her, and she's a celebrity authority. And so, one of the things that we try to help people with in sales, is studying people that align with you and communicating like an authority. There's a certain cadence to the way a CEO talks, a certain vocal quality, strength, tone, timbre, all of that. And so we try to get people to model a little bit of that and the way they carry themselves, their gestures. So it's a movement, appearance, this confidence, a feeling of safety, and ability to connect, and their intent. So we kind of reverse engineer a lot of it. Because for me, it's like, I've been just fascinated with elite performers, much like the world of NLP. Modeling human excellence isn't just what they do, but it's what they believe. And so looking at, for yourself, because you've had, human excellence at the highest level of working with these people, if we were to model some of your beliefs and reverse engineer not just what you're doing, what do you believe about sales, influence, therapy, creating change, yourself when you're on stage? I kind of want to unpack, your beliefs about this, but I also want to start here. How did you get to be at this place? Like, what's been kind of your, did you go to the Tony event and you met him at the event and then you started learning all this stuff on your own? What's kind of been your journey up until here?
Actually, it didn't start with Tony. I was well along my way. I've got a call with him tomorrow. It started with, at one point in my life, Eli, well, first off, I got to give, the credit to who credit's due is my parents. Great parents. My dad was military, and so he was very strict. And my mom was a musician, so she was very well into practice and things like that. So they taught their children to have those ethics. So that's where it started. But when I was 17 and a half years old, some people know this, I had some tragedy in my life. 3 grown men tried to take my life because of the color of my skin. And it wasn't so much what they did to me physically. It was the things that they said to me that destroyed me. All that my self-worth, my self-certainty, my confidence, everything went out the window. And I wound up very shortly after that, by 19 years old, I was homeless. I was living in a cardboard box behind an old drive-in theater. And what changed my life, what got me on this path was a man that I didn't even know. Just somebody a kind person, gave me the book, Think and Grow Rich. And when he gave me the book, here's what I always tell people, because a lot of people have read the book, is I did what the book said. I was desperate. And it was so basic, and I never saw anything like that. And I did with the book when my life started to change. And then when I went back to him, and to thank him, I said, listen, this book has changed my life. You've changed my life. What can I do for you? Because that's the way I was raised. And what he said to me changed my life again. He said, Joseph, how you repay me is you do the same thing that I've done for you in whatever way you can, for as many people as you possibly can, for the rest of your life. And I was 19 years old, and I didn't know what that meant. But I started to realize that, and I was raised that way as well. By the way, my mom would do basket brigades on Thanksgiving, and we would always contribute. We do all kinds of things like that. So that stuff started to come back to me. But then I started to really start to live it, and I realized that I wanted to, take this to the next level. So I went back to school, and I started to study psychology. But in the meantime, I had to live. I put myself through school as a dental technician, but I was also a musician, still a musician. I wanted to have a recording contract. That was my deal back in the 80s. But I had my own psychological challenges. My father, who was so strict, and so he didn't get his education. He got his education after he had a family. And so he would always pound into our heads that, you gotta get your education, His saying was, you gotta stay in school and keep a good job, or you'll be digging ditches. That was my dad's saying. And so guess what? I took that to heart. And so even when I graduated from college, I still kept the same job, and I want to be a musician. So I saw an infomercial on television, and this was 1983. No, 84, sorry. In 84, there was this guy named Robert Allen, and he's still around. I just talked to him just a little while ago. Robert Allen was one of the first people to teach people how to flip houses. Now, I never forget his infomercial. He said, "Come to my seminar. I'm going to show you how to buy houses, and you can make yourself financially free." And I thought, well, that's it. That's for me, because then I could quit my job. And I went to a seminar. Very long story short, Eli, he had a plan. If you buy, and his seminar was called Nothing Down. It showed you how to buy houses for no money down. And he said, if you buy 2 houses a year for 10 years, at the end of 10 years, you'll have like a, $15,000 a month income. And and now it's still a good chunk of money. But I thought, well, that's it. But I don't want to wait 10 years. So I went to him and I said, Mr. Allen, your plan is 2 houses a year for 10 years. What if I buy 10 houses a year for 2 years? And he laughed, and he actually called attention to me in the classroom, because I talked to him by himself. And he said, hey, everybody, listen to what this guy's got to say. And he said, Mr. McClendon, absolutely. He said, of course you can do that. So that's what I did, was I went out and I bought 26 houses in less than a year and a half.
Wow.
And the reason I'm trying to get to answer your question, that process of getting rejected over and over and over again, but having the drive and having the need to be successful at that made me hone my skills, because I had a pull to be a musician. I had a drive to quit my job, and I wanted to make money. And so that's where it started. But fast forward from there, I had, I had 26 houses, and I was miserable. Miserable. And the reason being was I still couldn't quit my job. I didn't know why. I was terrified.
You have to manage all the properties yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I had been learning psychology, but nobody ever taught us anything about how to change yourself. Psychology in classes, you learn about other people. You don't learn about how to deal with yourself. And that is when I met Tony. And yes, I went to a seminar, and I saw him take somebody that had and that was when NLP was really, really popular. He took somebody, I think he had a fear of heights. And he helped them with it, and they were able to, get up on a ladder, go up in an elevator, whatever. And I saw that, and that fascinated me, because, in traditional therapy, they taught that would take a year, 2 years to do. And we became friends, and I got the big idea. I thought, well, what if I use that on myself? And that's what I did. I got over my fear of quitting my job. I quit my job the next freaking week. And I did. Wow. I got by 1990, I got a recording contract with CBS Records, and the rest is history.
You still own any of those houses? Still have any of those houses?
I do. As a matter of fact, I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't. I just, I've got financial advisors and things like that. And this is the first time since then that I have owned less than 5 houses. And I'm getting ready to off some of those as well, because it's that stage right now where, the ones that are making me a lot of money, I keep those. But for the most part, I just bought this house that I'm in right now and paid cash for it. And because my goal, like I said, my legacy is that, I want to be able to, I will continue doing what I'm doing, but I want to have more time to do that and not travel as much as I am. And so it is just that stage. So I still benefit from those, but I don't have them all now.
That's amazing. So you have this business, and with the NeuroEncoding, do you have other companies as well? Other things that you're doing? Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing all that you've kind of put together. For those folks who, are going to all these seminars, all this stuff, what would you tell those folks that are a little bit stuck?
Well, at the risk of sounding like I'm promoting my own program.
and you should, I've heard great things. I'm good friends. I just talked with Carolyn Rim the other day. She was raving about you, and we got some events coming up together. I saw her do her thing in Sedona recently. She's great. But yeah, she was raving about you, and you do have a great process. So promote
Carolyn
away.
is an example of neuroencoding. When I met Carolyn on the verge of divorce, getting ready to live in the streets, a daughter that she couldn't take care of, all of those things. And she was somebody that, she showed me that she was determined to do it, but didn't know how to do it. And I just took her through the process. Mm-hmm. And now Carolyn is an amazing coach, an amazing mentor, and changes people's lives, and just over the top. So what I would say to people is this, whether it's what I teach, and I systematically broke it down, and to answer your question, what we started with is, why do so many people fail at this?
Yeah, why do they get stuck in the process?
They get stuck in the process. Is I wanted to deal with that first. Mm-hmm. Deal with that first, because I don't care who you are, you're a human being and you got stuff going on. And the quicker we can get to that place, and I don't have to know what it is, and you don't have to share it with anybody. But one of the things that you get to see in the process is me doing it and doing what I say, getting a result right now. Said differently, I'll give you two examples. Well, the one is a whole host of examples. Part of the certification process is I'll teach you something, and then my team brought in somebody that I never met before. I had no idea what their issue was, and they put them in front of me. And then I have it's filmed. You see me go through the same step that I just taught you to produce a result right now. And then we follow up with that person 3 or 4 weeks later, and the results are astonishing. And one of them I'll give you an example of. And again, I'm not telling people that this is what you're going to learn how to be a therapist. This is strictly designed for these two things: physician, heal thyself. And if you're a coach or mentor, you're a teacher, you're an influencer, you're a sales or anything like that, to enhance what you're already doing. And so, because so many people out there, there's so many coaches that are out there that, they're getting some results, but they're not, really changing people's lives. And so one of the examples is, there was a woman who, as a matter of fact, she came to me. She wasn't part of the program. There was just somebody that brought her. I never met her before. And when you watch this, it's painful to watch, because she was a victim or a result of something called TBS, TBI, traumatic brain injury. She'd been in a terrible car accident, smashed her skull, and she could barely talk. And she could barely get the words out. And she was also manic. 1 minute she's crying because she can't get her words out. And you could see in her eyes, which is one of the things that I teach, is let's see, I'm going to teach you how to read people's eyes. And it was very painful. And so right then and there, I said, let's do something about this. And I took her through the exact same process that I just taught people with. And by the end of it, you could tell that she had a change right there. There was an aha. But the beautiful part about it, Eli, was, and this was just a couple weeks ago, and I get emotional, but when I think about it, you can't even recognize this woman now. Wow. She's so happy. She just, she talks in complete sentences. She's just joyful. And what she does is that she works with other people that have TBI, and she tells them, which is the truth. The truth of the matter is that the brain can heal. I'm not a physician like that to tell you that it's going to heal this way, but she healed herself. And some of it comes from, let's just say, her beliefs, but those beliefs had to be instilled in her. And she's a completely different person. And now she's out there changing other people's lives. But the best part about it is you get to see it being done, so that, like I said, tell, show, try, do. I tell you, I show you, and then I say, you go do this. And then you do this, and you try this, and then you do it outside of there. And so we've got dozens of examples of that. We've got dozens of, and it's not just examples so you can see how great Joseph is. You get to see, and I get excited about this, sorry.
That's amazing.
People say this all the time. We're doing actually our first live event with NeuroEncoding here in April, but so many people now when they go and they see me live, they go, Joseph, I know what you're doing. I know why I feel the way that I do. I know how you get people to do that, because I don't change it. I just, like I said at the very beginning, I don't believe so much in God-given talent. I believe in strategy, practice it, and apply it. And so every time from when you learn it, when you see me on stage, you're going, well, I know what stage he's in. I know what he's doing. I know what he's going to do next. And then you own that for the rest of your life. Last thing I want to say is this on that. This is a licensed program, but it's royalty free. And what I mean by that is you don't have to keep renewing and you don't have to keep paying me money to use this information. The reason I did that is I want people to take it, make it their own, and get out there and change the world. And that's, is so needed now.
Amazing. That's I love it. I jumped down this rabbit hole long time ago. So I'm
You're a badass yourself, my friend. You're an absolute badass yourself. And I know I've thanked you before, but I'm going to do it publicly now. You and I met at the beginning of COVID. As a matter of fact, it was the very first
digital event.
Yeah, video based. And you shared with me some things, put me on a track, and helped me with some things as well. So I'm eternally grateful for that. And you yourself are a badass at what you do, and especially what you're doing right now. We're helping people.
Yeah. Be the positive influence in the world. So I appreciate you. Where can folks find out about you, your programs? Where should they go? And we'll of course put all this in the show notes. But Facebook, Instagram, kind of, website. What do you got?
You can find me on all of the above. Instagram is I am Joseph McClendon, or you can go to my website, josephmcclendon.com, and or Instagram is, kind of my, we're on all of them, but my preferred method of interacting with people. And if you click on my bio or whatever, you can go to NeuroEncoding.com. And there's videos there that'll tell you all about it. Do a much better job of explaining it than I have in this short amount of time.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been super valuable. I'm going to go back through here and make sure that I'm applying this. Tell, show, try, do, implement the pattern and get her done. So thank you again so much. And for everybody listening, until the next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Eli, thank you so much.